All right. Our next section is going to be about change in supply. And the last lecture I did, I talked about change in supply, but really much more trying to focus on not the reasons why, but instead um, what it would do to the supply curve. It was much more supply curve focused. And yeah, I got into masks and 3M and stuff that's kind of topical to try and explain it, but it didn't really get into all of the factors that could affect change in supply. So let's go there for a second if we could. Um, so a change in supply will cause a change in demand. The lower the supply cost, the more demand, right? The less supply, the higher cost, the less demand. So the example I'm going to focus on for this section is corn. Okay, I'm not sure if any of you guys have been through the Midwest part of our country. I went to college for a year out in Ohio, University of Toledo, go Rockets. Um, and I, I was shocked because I drove there at the fact that as soon as I left my city that I was living and going to school and working during that year, that you just hit cornfields. And the cornfields went as far as the eye could see. I would say cornfields all the way through Iowa, Nebraska, Southern Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. I mean, other than the cities, it's just cornfields. It's wild if you haven't seen it. Um, and the question is, do we really eat that much corn? And you could get deep on this and how corn is transformed and used in so many foods, and should it be, and it's feeding animals? Should cows be eating corn and not grass? Or look, that's a lot, right? It's too much for today. Um, but we're going to start looking at corn um, because we make just so darn much of it in this country. Look at this picture, okay? This is corn. It's ground corn, right? So this isn't obviously corn on the cob or street corn, which I love. The guy comes down my street, right? Um, but this is what they do. They grind it up and they use it in different things, including gas. I think corn is used in batteries. It's incredible. Corn is an amazing product, and it's used in so many things you would never believe it. Um, and because of that, our government subsidizes corn. And what that means is they pay farmers to make corn. And therefore, if you're a farmer, right, and you're sitting on a bunch of land in Iowa, and the government says, I'll give you $5, per, I don't know, pound of ground corn. I'm not sure what the prices of corn are. You're going to do it because the government's going to give you some. Plus, then you're going to get some from the buyer, and it makes for a situation where corn is really profitable for farmers to grow in a large part because the government's going to provide you money for the corn you grow. So we have an abundance of corn, right? Which is great because we have a lot of food, and maybe this will keep people from going hungry. At least help in the case we want to feed our people. But we're learning that corn isn't just used for food. Corn is used in other things. Okay. But one reason why we have a change in supply is because the government is providing subsidies for this item. If, arguably, the government put regulations on corn growing, if the government said you can no longer grow corn using fertilizer, right? Fertilizer is common, of course, and all corn grown must be organic. Well, that's going to really hurt the supply of corn because producers are going to grow less. They say, oh, wait a minute, I can't use fertilizer. That means I'm going to have smaller yields. And if I have smaller yields, I'm going to make smaller profits. I'm going to stop growing as much because, look, producers are all about making profits in a capitalist system, and that's the way it should be. Um, they're just trying to make theirs. They're a business. They're trying to make their money. And if you tell them that they have to jump over more hurdles and therefore the profit margin is smaller, they're probably going to stop buying as much. Or not buying as much, they're probably going to stop making as much of this item. And again, this is just hypothetical pretend conversations about corn. What if then there's a change in the cost of the seed? What if all of a sudden seed makers across our country say, we're running out of seeds for whatever reason. We're going to charge you more for the seed. Well, that would also cause people to make less because I'm a farmer and I only have a certain amount of money for seed. And now my money doesn't buy as many seeds, therefore I can't grow as much. Supply goes down. What if there's a technology created that makes it, it's a new fertilizer that doubles the size of the corn fields, which by the way, cornfields are tall. Um, but imagine that they do that now instead of 6, 7, 8 foot corn um, trees. You're looking at 10, 12, 15. I don't know, foot corn trees. We're talking Jack and the Beanstalk here. Yeah, that's of course is going to increase the amount made, the amount produced, because I can buy the same seed. I can dump the same cost of fertilizer on the seed, but my plant grows twice as high. Therefore, I get twice as many heads of corn. So change in technology can also cause a change in supply. Lastly, we're going to look at is the change in the number of, um, of sellers. So what if um, we decide as a country that we're going to stop selling as much corn? Okay, and because of that, Ralph's, which is Kroger on the East Coast, decides I'm not selling corn in my stores anymore. Well, the producer is going to say that that's a big company that we buys a lot of our corn and they're no longer buying our corn, so I'm going to make less. Because I'm not going to make extra corn, which is then going to just go to waste if no one buys it. Because corn it goes bad after a certain amount of time. You need that person who's going to buy it up immediately. So again, just a bunch of factors that could cause producers to make less of an item. Remember, and if there's nothing else you remember about supply, is that supply is about the person who makes the item. Demand is about the person who buys the item. Together, they make supply and demand. And that's really the first step in understanding this whole thing.